How are we doing today, gentlemen? Thanks so much for joining me at Take Charge. I tremendously appreciate it. I found this gentleman by the name of Lane Goodwin just doing some dicking around on the interwebs, and I've got to say, I've gone through a couple, like two, three articles of his, and so far I'm digging it. I like a lot of the things that he's put out over the years, and it looks like he's been going at this for quite some time. So, what I want to do is something a little bit different with the stuff I put out there on all of my whatever the fuck they're called, and kind of follow the lead of a whole bunch of other content creators out there and just kind of, fudge around on the interwebs and let you guys know what I see. So with Mr. Goodwin, he wrote an article back in June of 21 on boundaries, how to set healthy boundaries and actually enforce them, which is one of my main tenets is making sure that you have effective boundaries, you've voiced them, and you are ready to enforce. So I'm going to go through the article, literally reading it to you. Sorry, this is going to be a long video, guys. This is a long article. And then what I'll do is when I come to a point where, he says something I either really strongly agree with or disagree with, I'll just kind of take a moment and pretty much stare at you in the camera while I go off on a rant and rave. All right, getting into it. How to set healthy boundaries and actually enforce them. Setting and enforcing healthy boundaries is essential for healthy relationships, raising kids, and most importantly, your personal well-being. Boundaries basically boil down to what behaviors you'll tolerate from others. A failure to set healthy and strong boundaries is not only a disservice to yourself, but it's also a disservice to your loved ones. First and foremost, setting and enforcing strong and healthy boundaries is a necessity for building a healthy relationship with your significant other and raising mentally and healthy, successful children. When I first started reading this, guys, I was a little bit worried that he was only going to talk about boundary setting and boundary enforcement from the relationship perspective, because I'm not just about the intersexual dynamics between men and women, but he does eventually kind of move around a little bit, shift focus to the other people around you, coworkers, colleagues, shit like that. So just putting that out there. Here's how it works, he says. The strength of your boundaries is usually a reliable measure of your personal strength. While strong boundaries don't always successfully predict personal strength, they're such a good proxy that a woman tests a man's strength and children test their parents' strength by testing their boundaries. A woman subconsciously assumes that only a strong man is capable of setting and actually enforcing boundaries. Kids subconsciously assume that only strong parents are capable of setting and actually enforcing boundaries. The reason why women want strong men and kids want strong parents is that from an evolutionary standpoint, the strength of their protectors is positively correlated to their chances of survival. This is the primary reason why women aren't attracted to weak men and spoiled children are unruly and unhappy. A man who's afraid to scare away a woman by setting and enforcing his boundaries ends up failing to attract the kind of woman he wants. Parents who do everything their child asks of them end up spoiling the child. Spoiled kids cry a lot, not because they're spoiled, but because they're terrified to have weak parents. I don't know if that seems a little bit too deep, but I'm not a psychologist, so maybe. If a man can't even defend his own boundaries, how in the world will he defend his woman against the evils of the brutal world? If parents can't even defend their boundaries against the powerless kid, how in the world will they defend the kid from the dangers of the world? I would agree with that. Moreover, the value of your boundaries isn't limited to the relationships with your significant other and children. Healthy and strong boundaries are essential for developing healthy relationships with your parents, coworkers, close or distant relatives, and even with acquaintances you barely interact with. Hands down, yes. This is not just a relationship thing, guys. Boundaries are for anyone that you allow to come into your life or disallow when they've crossed your boundaries. Just putting that out there. Moving on. Also, weak boundaries attract manipulative parasites. Hell yes. Into your life who are looking to take advantage of you. Damn fucking straight. If there are manipulative parasites among your parents, relatives, coworkers, etc., you'll be vulnerable to their manipulations as well. Nature abhors weakness. If you fail to set and enforce strong boundaries, malevolent people will remorselessly take advantage of you. Yeah. All right, so 10 we've got now. He's going to break, I guess, 10 signs you have weak boundaries. Let's break it down, Mr. Goodwin. Since personal boundaries are invisible, we'll first look at the signs you have weak boundaries. We'll first look at the signs. I think you made a typo there. We'll first look at the signs that you have weak boundaries, and then analyze some common real-life problems that arise from weak boundaries. Number one, you find it hard to say no. Of course that's going to be number one. Damn straight. If defending your boundaries is a war, the word no is your strongest soldier. People with weak boundaries are uncomfortable saying no, so they end up doing a lot of things they don't want to do or solving problems they didn't create, which add up quickly to turn their lives into a living hell. Yes, guys, if you're having trouble with getting the word no out of your face when it comes to things that you don't want to do, I really recommend that you look into the book When I Say No, I Feel Guilty by Dr. Manuel Smith. It's either Manuel or Manuel. I'm not sure how he pronounces it. But the book was written back in the 70s, and it's essentially the psychologist who did a whole bunch of assertive type training for people back in the day. And one of the first things he says is you got to learn to say no. But definitely check that book out. Fantastic book. All right, moving on. Number two, you regularly attract drama into your life. Drama is basically a weapon of low-value people to get what they want out of you. Also, it's a long way of saying manipulation. A low-value person in your life creates drama. Ergo, you want the drama to go away. Ergo, you give them what they want. Ergo, the drama ends temporarily. Ergo, a low-value person in your life creates drama. And then the cycle just repeats. It's this vicious BS cycle. The cycle repeats itself indefinitely until you decide to set and enforce strong boundaries that you have zero tolerance for drama in your life. The hard part comes when you've allowed the drama to perpetuate ad nauseum. And then all of a sudden you're going to try to set this boundary. You've been manipulating me for years, and now I'm going to put my foot down and say no. Good luck with that. Because either one of two things is going to happen. One of them is far more beneficial to you as the individual setting the boundary. One, they're just going to blow up in your face and just keep trying to come at you. Or two, they're going to tell you to F off because they're pissy that you've put your foot down and you're no longer going to be a victim of their manipulations. So pray for number two. The moment you can get those low-value people out of your life, the better off you're going to be. Hands down. Number three, you are easily guilt-tripped. If you have weak boundaries, family members, friends, coworkers, and even strangers can guilt-trip you into getting what they want out of you. Your parents might guilt-trip you into working in a city you hate because they don't want you to move too far to a faraway place for a better job. Your significant other might guilt-trip you into foregoing your leisure time to relieve his or her boredom. Your coworkers might guilt-trip you into covering up for their laziness. Your kids might guilt-trip you into buying them expensive gadgets you can't afford. Or the government might guilt-trip you into paying exorbitant taxes in the name of being a good citizen. That last one, probably just trying to avoid prison time. Let's not get into the whole government and politics thing, guys. Examples can be indefinitely expanded, but you get the point. I'm going to go ahead and move on to 4. I don't really have a hell of a lot to say about number 3. People interrupt your work for trivial reasons. I am a victim of this. I let myself get distracted far too often and far too easily. If you don't set strong boundaries around your work time, people will interrupt your work for non-emergencies. Example, your significant other texts or calls you for unimportant reasons even when they know you're busy working. Now, it's not necessarily just a significant other. Could be kids, could be friends, could be family. It doesn't matter. If you set aside time to work on a project or to, let's say you're setting aside, let's not even call it work, okay? Let's say you set time aside for yourself, all right? Your alone time. Because that's just as, if not potentially more important than work in some aspects. So let's say that you've set aside this time for introspection, alone time, and you get a text. Why do you still have your phone on sound? Why did you not silence it, or not even vibrate? Put your shit in airplane mode, right? or shut the fucking thing off, right? You've set aside this time for yourself to either get your work done or get your introspection done, but you've still got this tether that people can contact you on, this lifeline. Well, what if there's an emergency? Yeah. It's an emergency, they'll let you know. But if it's, hey, what do you want to do for dinner? Or do you want to go out? Or do you feel like coming over and playing video games? Just these small little things that people around you might kind of you might allow to get in your way. No, just get rid of the distractions and stay focused. You can't really allow the trivial reasons to interrupt you. All right, sorry. Moving on. Number 5. If you're a parent, your kids throw tantrums and are unruly in general. Now, I do have 2 kids. When kids aren't reminded of their boundaries, they become unruly and spoiled. Part of the reasons why kids throw tantrums is that they subconsciously feel unsafe around weak parents. This is really getting into some psychology I'm not sure I'm going to touch. The other part is that if kids have weak parents, tantrums help them get what they want out of their parents. Weak parents do what their kids ask of them, hoping that the tantrum goes away and life goes back to normal. However, the tantrums will keep coming back as long as the kids get what they want by throwing tantrums. Humans repeat the behaviors they are rewarded for. I'm going to age myself and bring up the movie, what was it called? A League of Their Own, sorry. So we had Gina Davis, Tom Hanks, Madonna, Rosie O'Donnell, blah, blah, blah. There's a scene in the movie where this one single mom, when she gets on the baseball team in the League of Their Own, she brings her kid along. She's a single mom. She brings her son with, and the kid's just a little shit. He's just a terror. The only way she can get the kid to stop throwing tantrums is she continuously feeds him chocolate bars. So obviously unhealthy. The kid's not getting the proper nutrition. But it's the only way she can get the kid to shut up, because she never set strong boundaries with the kid. She never let him know that certain behaviors are unacceptable and she won't put up with it. The only way she's found is to acquiesce. Pure and simple. Moving on to number 6. You constantly need to save adults in your family. They might be your significant other, parents, siblings, coworkers, or even your relatives-in-law, who regularly act as if they're in distress and in need of being saved. Adults are capable of solving problems on their own. If they're behaving like helpless kids around you, it's because they know they can get you to solve their problems by feigning helplessness. Give me a moment, guys. I think everybody I know has people like this in their lives, where they're essentially mental children in a chronologically adult skin suit. And they will do whatever they possibly can to say, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. The circumstance where someone in your life genuinely can't do it without your assistance is rare. As an adult, the vast majority of us have the resources, the time, and the fortitude to take care of what needs to be taken care of. But when we allow those in our lives who don't want to put in the effort because they never really learned how, so they just learned how to manipulate others around them. When we allow those people to continue influencing us, we're not maintaining a boundary. We need to cut those people off. Again, it kind of goes back to what I said earlier. They're going to do one of 2 things. They're going to throw a fit, thinking that they can con you into it, or they're going to remove themselves from your lives. And more often than not, scenario number 2 is the way to go. All right, number 7. Conflict always seems to find you, although you avoid it like the plague. I'll read this, but then I want to say something. While conflict is an inevitable part of life, all right, he already said it for me, disregard. People with weak boundaries tend to be conflict avoidant, also known as nice guys, the nice guy syndrome, which ironically attracts more conflict into their lives. I would agree with that. Upon realizing that you're conflict avoidant, manipulative parasites smell blood and deliberately create conflict or dangle the threat of conflict in order to get what they want out of you. Okay, so I guess that's like a really verbose way of saying they bully you into giving them what they want out of you. Let's go back to the first part of his first sentence. Conflict is an inevitable part of life. Absolutely. You can't get through life without conflict and confrontation. It's better to get used to it, accustomed to it, deal with the anxiety it may bring up, and then move on, rather than let the conflict dictate how the rest of your life goes. End of story. Number 8, you are often treated with disrespect by your loved ones, colleagues, friends, and even strangers. As we have already covered, people equate a lack of strong boundaries to weakness. Humans are biologically hardwired to respect strength and disrespect weakness. It's a subconscious process. They can't help it. Even if they are careful not to disrespect you, especially in front of other people, their disrespect will leak out in the most unexpected moments. Disrespect usually results from an accumulation of tolerated small offenses, which goes to show that defending your boundaries is not really about refusing to tolerate major offenses, but about refusing to tolerate minor offenses. I'm going to read that last one again. That one's really good. Disrespect usually results from an accumulation of tolerated small offenses, which goes to show that defending your boundaries is not really about refusing to tolerate major offenses, but about refusing to tolerate minor offenses. I like that a lot. A lot of people, when you bring up the word boundary, they think it has to be some kind of soul-crushing, oh, they cheated on me, or they stole money from me, or whatever. No, it doesn't have to be that at all. Not at all. If someone does something minor, like, I don't know, talk smack behind your back before you really get to know the person, or I don't know, I'm having trouble thinking of small shit on the spot, but the more you tolerate the small amounts of BS, the easier it will be for them to, when I say them, I mean the person disrespecting you. It will be easier for them to grow those offenses over time. So it's better to squash the small ones as they arise rather than trying to deal with the big ones further apart, okay? Squash the small ones with strong boundaries, then the big ones far less likely to happen. I really like number 8. That was cool. All right, number 9, you put more effort into your relationships than other counterparts. Intriguing. People with weak boundaries have tumultuous relationships where they need to extend extra effort to prevent a particular relationship from derailing. A lack of strong boundaries is attempted to be compensated, he meant to say to be compensated for, by an extra effort which makes relationship a chore to maintain rather than a pleasure to enjoy. I kind of lost my train of thought, guys. I'm going to read that one again. Bear with me. People with weak boundaries have tumultuous relationships where they need to extend extra effort to prevent a particular relationship from derailing. In other words, they're scared of letting go of what they have in order to get what they want. A lack of strong boundaries is attempted to be compensated for by an extra effort which makes relationships a chore. Okay. So whomever is not setting the boundaries and enforcing them, they try to compensate for that lack of boundary setting with extra effort in order to maintain the relationship. And it makes it a chore rather than a pleasure. Got it. Yep. Got nothing to say on number lane. I like it. All right, number 10. You prioritize other people's happiness over your own. Okay, guys. My number 1. Self-care and prioritization. Prioritize yourself and your happiness over that of others. Because if you're not happy, how the fuck are the other people in your life going to be happy? Just putting that there. Selflessness is trumpeted as a virtue, but this is a trap. Selflessness isn't a virtue. Selfishness gets a bad rap because it's often confused with solipsism. It's solipsism that is bad, not selfishness. Selflessly prioritizing other people's happiness over your own neither results in your own happiness nor the happiness of your loved ones. I just said that. For example, happy wife, happy life is the motto of many married men with weak boundaries who foolishly think prioritizing the happiness of their wives will lead to their own happiness. Ironically, these men usually have neither happy wives nor happy lives. I agree. Also, parents with weak boundaries prioritize the happiness of their kids over their own happiness, which leads to spoiled and unruly kids. So, not that I really deal too much with relationships, guys, but with this particular line, the happy wife, happy life, I don't really think it's easy for a woman to respect her husband if she knows she can walk all over him. There's something innate, intrinsic, in a woman being checked by her man that they find respectable. And if it's not a boundary that is enforced and they just continuously allow the wife to walk over the husband, then they see that husband as weak and manipulatable. And eventually, excuse me, that will lead to an unhappy life and more than likely divorce. The wife will probably end up cheating on the husband, just throwing that shit out there. All right, so we've got let's skip over the real life examples. See what else he's got in here. Bear with me. Scrolling. Ah, there we go. How to set healthy and strong boundaries. All right, what do you got, Mr. Goodwin? Before you can communicate and enforce your boundaries, you first need to set them. Yeah. It pays to always keep in mind that boundaries aren't about controlling the behaviors of other people. This is true. They are about yourself. You can't change other people, except your kids, the personality of whom you can shape, but you have full control over your own behaviors. All right. When you guys set and enforce boundaries, it's not about changing the behavior of other people. It's about what behavior you allow towards yourself. Okay, that's what boundaries are about. The people who are testing your boundaries, they're going to behave how they're going to behave. It's up to them to change if they so choose. You can't change other people. That's their decision. That's their journey. But boundaries are about what you will accept around you, how you will accept other people to interact with you. So if someone's pushing your buttons, they're stepping on your toes, they're testing your boundaries, it's up to you to say, I won't allow that treatment of me by you. And then, your consequence needs to be enforced. And if the person does it again, that was their choice. The first time they fucked up, they made a mistake. If they choose to test your boundary again, that was by choice because you laid it out clear and present. This is what I will tolerate. This is what I won't tolerate. Okay? Put yourself first. People with weak boundaries usually prioritize the needs and wants of others over their own needs and wants. Yes, self-prioritization. They have a unilateral agreement in their heads, the terms of which no one else knows or agrees to. Covert contracts. That if they take care of the needs and wants of others, their needs and wants will be taken care of in return. That is the definition of a covert contract. This is the wrong mentality to have. If you don't prioritize your own needs and wants over everyone else's, other people assume that your needs and wants don't matter. If you seem to not care about your own needs and wants, why in the world would others care about them? Yep. Those who prioritize the needs and wants of others with the expectation that their own needs and wants will be met in return usually end up blaming others for their situation in life. Victim pukes, victim mentality. Pointing fingers and blaming others is what weak people do. You're an adult. You're fully capable of fending for yourself and fully responsible for your station in life. Like I said, guys, I've gone over a couple of Goodwin's shit, his articles. I dig it. The only way to ensure your needs and wants are met is to prioritize them. Put yourself first and do it unapologetically. Your needs and wants are a priority. This is not subject to negotiation. It might sound selfish, and it is selfish, but you have no other option. If someone tries to guilt trip you by telling you that you're selfish, say thanks for noticing and move on with your life. That was awesome. I'm going to try to I'll try to do it, but I can't make any promises. When the word selfish is used, I'm going to use self-preservation. That's just a preference of mine. Putting yourself first and taking full responsibility for your needs and wants will automatically lead you to set strong boundaries. Yep, I absolutely agree. Hold yourself up to high standards. Number 2. As we've already talked about, boundaries are about what behaviors you will tolerate from others, which inevitably involves holding other people to high standards. You can't hold others up to high standards without holding yourself up. This is accountability and responsibility. You can't hold others up to high standards without holding yourself up to those standards in the first place. Remember, setting and enforcing boundaries is about you, not other people. Yep. Hold yourself up to high standards, carry yourself with self-respect. And not only will other people be a lot likelier to respect you and your boundaries, but you'll also attract the kind of people you want into your life who are willing to respect your boundaries, while weeding out predators who are looking to take advantage of people with weak boundaries. I like number 2. Number 3, never take responsibility for the feelings of others, or I should say of other adults, sorry. Adults are fully capable of fending for themselves, and they're fully responsible for their own well-being. Refusing to take responsibility for the feelings of other adults makes it harder for them to manipulate or guilt trip you into saving them or relieving their anxieties. Okay, I'm actually going to draw a very loose parallel between this and Stoicism because I happen to like Stoicism. But ultimately, there are far too many people in the world, men, women, children, coworkers, doesn't matter, who allow their emotions to essentially run their lives by allowing the emotions to dictate how they respond to a situation. Oh, how does it go? Facts don't care about your feelings, some other such nonsense or whatever. Yeah, ultimately, I don't feel you're responsible for offending others or hurting other people's feelings because they're allowing that response, okay? We're all adults. We should all be in control of how we receive others. If we allow people to piss us off and get under our skin, we're allowing them to manipulate us into doing things they want, seeing things their way. We're allowing them to persuade us when we should be just standing firm, holding ground, and not allowing them to cross boundaries, right? How to actually enforce your boundaries. All right, do tell Mr. Goodwin. Setting boundaries is one thing and enforcing them is another. Boundaries are useless if you fail to enforce them. Yep. Most people with boundary issues, do have some boundaries, but they're bad at enforcing them. After all, no one likes to be treated like dirt, walked over, disrespected, and made to deal with trauma, manipulated, guilt-tripped, etc. Here's how to actually enforce the boundaries you set. Number 1, decide the consequences for those who violate your boundaries and communicate them. That sounds vaguely familiar. There's no point in setting boundaries if there are no consequences. Think of it like this. If the government sets speed limits but fails to issue speeding tickets for drivers who violate those limits, would those limits be respected? Of course not. In an ideal world, verbally communicating your boundaries should suffice, but the real world doesn't work like that. Words are meaningless if they aren't backed by your action. There must be some kind of punishment for people who violate your boundaries. It's important to note that by punishment, I don't mean physical punishment or verbal abuse, which should at all times be off limits. Yeah, there's no real respect in talking smack to other people. And it's not boundary enforcement. It's just being a dick. In fact, resorting to physical or verbal violence is for the weak. Yeah, that's pretty much what I just said. Also, emotional responses to the violation of your boundaries are signs of weakness. Yes, keep your emotions in check. As well, it's never a good idea to lose your cool. You want to be rational. As we've already talked about, it's normal for women to test a man's boundaries and kids to test parents' boundaries. In most cases, just telling them no or simply taking away your attention is enough consequence for them to know not to cross your boundaries. Well said, Mr. Goodwin. The reason why losing your attention is a powerful consequence for women and children is their biological wiring. Women and kids crave attention because when we lived in tribes, unattended women and children could be easy prey to predators. If crossing your boundaries costs them to lose your attention, they'll think twice the next time before they attempt to cross your boundaries. In most cases, a firm no or withdrawal of attention is often enough consequence for not only your spouse and kids, but also your parents, friends, relatives, and coworkers to discourage them from crossing your boundaries. In other words, simply removing yourself from the situation and just leaving them to their own devices. Fending off manipulative parasites is as easy as cutting off contact with them. Now, eventually, if you guys have parents, friends, relatives, coworkers, spouses, kids, grown kids, whatever, that continuously cross your boundaries, and simply removing yourself from that situation in the short term doesn't work, you are going to have to pull one of these. Cutting off cutting them off, getting rid of them, disallowing them from your life. Never hesitate to dole out appropriate and proportionate punishments for anyone who violates your boundaries, even for small offenses, because major offenses arise from the accumulation of unpunished minor offenses that add up. He mentioned that earlier. Weak people reward others for crossing their boundaries, let alone punish them. He probably meant rather than punish them. Look for the real life examples of how to see some of our protagonists reward. That's probably when he was, the real life examples we skipped over. If enforcing your boundaries seems to be a lot of work, don't fret. The stronger you get, the easier it will be to enforce your boundaries. In other words, practice makes perfect. Strong people enforce their boundaries effortlessly without even noticing. It takes time and effort to build strength, but once you do, it'll be smooth and effortless to enforce your boundaries. Learn to say no. That was like point number 1 he brought up. The word no is your most powerful weapon to defend your boundaries. Other people will often openly or tacitly ask for your permission to cross your boundaries. Simply say no and move on with your life. Keep in mind that in most cases, your loved ones secretly want you to say no anyway. They benefit from being around a strong person with strong boundaries. I'm aware that saying no to some people, your boss, for example, can be hard or even impossible, but in many cases, this can also be done. We'll see how below. Don't be afraid to lose people. You can't be afraid to let go of what you have in order to get what you want. The biggest reason why most people refrain from enforcing their boundaries is that they fear losing people for it. As the saying goes, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. Just like you risk temporary poverty for attaining financial independence, you must be willing to risk social poverty if you want to set and enforce strong boundaries. The first victims of your strong boundaries will typically be low-value, manipulative parasites who have been taking advantage of your loose boundaries. In fact, if you want to set and enforce strong boundaries, you probably need to evict these people who are already inside the boundaries you want to defend anyway. Good riddance. There's nothing to gain and everything to lose from having manipulative parasites in your life, so this group of people should be the least of your worries. Amen. Other people in life who aren't manipulative parasites will likely be already willing to respect your boundaries. What if they aren't willing to respect your boundaries? Well, how much sense does it make to keep someone in your life who isn't willing to respect you? If someone stops interacting with you just because of your boundaries, then good riddance, absolutely. Count your blessings that you dodged a bullet and move on with your life. As we've already talked about, strong boundaries are the foundation of healthy relationships. Your loved ones will feel safer around you and respect you more for your strong boundaries. Men should especially not refrain from setting and enforcing strong boundaries for their women. A woman will test a man's boundaries, she tests, until she finds out where he exactly draws the line. It's a subconscious process to test a man's strength. If she's convinced of his strength, her attraction for him increases and she feels safer around him. Most men allow women to step over their boundaries lest they scare her away, but this achieves the exact opposite of what they're trying to achieve. Women aren't, we're just going to go ahead and skip down to number 4, guys. Make your attention expensive. One of the most perilous consequences of weak boundaries is the time you waste paying attention to people who don't deserve it. Your time is your dearest treasure. Absolutely. Guys, time, by the way, is your most valuable resource. Not your looks, not your age, not your money. Your time. That is the one thing you absolutely cannot get back. Time is always going past us. No one is readily entitled to your attention except your kids, since kids can't take care of themselves, your significant other, in some cases, and your parents, especially when they require care. Everyone else needs to earn your attention, and in most cases, your kids, spouse, and parents are included in this equation. Spouses, kids, parents, all of these people, in my opinion, they can ruin that. Absolutely. They can go one step too far, and they can do or say the wrong thing, and just like everyone else in your life, you have the right to kick them out of your life. You really absolutely do. Just because you were given birth by this one person or this one dude raised you for 18 fucking years, they cross a boundary. They do that one thing that pisses you off. You have every right to kick them out. It's up to you to do it, but you have that right. Moreover, creating conflict, manufacturing drama, and throwing tantrums are strategies of manipulative parasites to exploit other people. And by the way, throwing tantrums, not just a kid thing, it's an adult thing. Never reward anyone for manufacturing drama or throwing tantrums. The behaviors you reward are bound to repeat, and those people will keep getting what they want out of you until you put a stop to it. When you make your attention expensive and mandate others earn it, you stop rewarding manipulative behavior with your attention. And once you stop rewarding unwanted behavior, it soon ceases to bother you because humans don't repeat behaviors they aren't rewarded for. Yeah, actually, I agree. If you remove your attention, which is what they want, they're not getting their reward. It's far easier to get what you want out of life by rewarding good behavior versus punishing bad behavior. So the punishment is simply removing the attention. They're not getting the reward. You must especially be vigilant with guarding your work time. Work is how you put food on the table. Barring emergencies, you must never tolerate those who attempt to interrupt you when you're working. Humans are a weird bunch. They'll test your boundaries even to see if they can get away with wasting your time. If you can't stand up to them, then it's your fault that your time is stolen. Number 5, expand your options. All in all, neediness is the real culprit underlying most, if not all, boundary issues. The surest way to stop being needy is to expand your options. It's easier to say no to your boss if you have a variety of job or business options. It's easier to say no to low-value romantic prospects if you're an attractive person with options. You'll fear less of losing people for enforcing your boundaries if you are a person in demand whom people are vying to establish relationships. So make sure that you've set yourself up with the skills necessary, that you have a lot of different job options, so if things go south with your current position, you can move elsewhere. Make sure that you've set yourself up for romantic prospects by self-prioritization, self-care, and getting yourself looking good, dressing good, and feeling good, so that other women notice it, and you attract much higher value romantic prospects. Where did I leave off? Never stop improving your own personal value so that you never run out of options. High value people not only have strong boundaries, but they also respect other people with strong boundaries. The higher your value, the higher will be the value of the other people you attract into your life. Absolutely. Well, that is the end of the article. Tell me what you guys thought. I kind of like doing this. This was pretty fun. Mr. Goodwin brought up a lot of points that I absolutely resonated with, and with this particular one, I don't think I had too many that I disagreed with. There were a couple of things, I didn't want to really touch due to the psychology behind it, but overall, I really liked how this article read. Tell me what you guys think. Put some comments, throw up a like or whatever, all that jazz, and I'm really hoping to get some kind of pushback from some people, so because that always leads to fun times, spicy times. All right, guys, thanks for chilling. I'll talk to you guys later.